How's your day been so far, Liz?
Oh, good.
Just wanna tell you that just be careful because you're sharing your screen, and if you wanna,
Yes,
yeah,
that's why I turned off I closed Outlook, closed everything.
okay, awesome. Uh, yeah, we'll give it maybe a few seconds just for everybody else to join us, and then we'll get started.
Okay.
Cool, awesome. I'll give a quick intro and then hand it over to you, Liz.
Okay,
And
sounds
and,
good.
and do you want to take the questions at the end, or do you want to take the questions while you're speaking?
Um, at the end, I think,
At the end.
because I I got some questions on LinkedIn, so I will probably be answering some questions as we go and everything.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
are we recording yet
Yeah.
or not
No,
yet?
I'm not recording yet, but it's live on LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook.
Okay.
So I'm just checking if the live streaming is already on. Not yet. I don't know why it's not on. Yeah, now it's on. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now it's on. Just getting to the. Yeah, it's on. Okay, so I'll just update the title here. And okay, awesome. I think let's kick it off. Let me just give a quick intro and then hand it over to you, Liz. So happy Sunday, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is part of our Sunday Future Career, weekly connect. We do this regularly since 2020. We help people land jobs. We help support challenges, bottlenecks. We bring industry leaders. Today we have an amazing leader, Liz Tesh. She's a cybersecurity CSA with Microsoft. I had the pleasure and honor to work with Liz during my days at Microsoft, and I learned so many things from her. And she's an amazing person. I loved working with her, and I'll let you, get to know this yourself during this call today. But before I do this, just I want to share that this call is live streamed on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. Everybody's muted, and I'll give you the chance to ask questions at the end. If you raise your hand at the end, I'll give you the ability to put your mic on. If you're not comfortable being recorded, then please leave the session now. Let me just start the recording. Sorry, I didn't start the recording on my end here. I need to do this. Yeah. Okay. Recording is on. So again, today the topic is breaking into cybersecurity. Liz is going to share some useful insights and learnings that she has developed herself in order to crack into the cybersecurity. And she started almost like everybody, with some few basics about cybersecurity. But again, I'll let her share her journey and tell you where she started and how she grown in her career. Liz, we're very excited to have you today. Thank you so much. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ahmed, for letting me do this. And thank you, everybody, for being here on a Sunday, and also for those who will watch later on recording. Today's webinar is about career change to cybersecurity. I think it could be useful for anybody contemplating a career change as well. Some of the things that we'll talk about here, intro and lessons learned. I'm trying very hard to not make this webinar about me, but to make it about you. I do want to share some lessons learned, though, because hopefully you can benefit from learning about some of the things I've done well in terms of career change and some of the mistakes I've made. As you can see by my disclaimer, I do work for Microsoft. This is not a Microsoft webinar or an advertisement in any way for Microsoft. Also, I am not a recruiter. I am not a career coach. I was tempted to write at the end, I'm not a fortune teller, because, we're all living in very uncertain times, obviously, right now. But what I am is a person who has gone through 2 significant job changes, career changes, not just job changes, but actual career changes in my life. And I would like to help if I can. So who am I? I live in the Houston, Texas area in the United States. I have about 20 years and more of combined IT and cybersecurity experience. I think, though, what I have to say is going to be relevant to anyone. Certain things that are going on in the job market, challenges finding jobs, these things have been around since I've been a job seeker. In fact, I'm still a job seeker, even though I've worked at Microsoft for 7 years. During that time, I've switched roles 3 times. And each time I've switched roles, I've had to present a resume. I've had to go through panel interviews. And in addition to the 3 times in the last 7 years that I was successful, there were also 3 times that I applied for a new role and I didn't get that. So I'm still learning myself as I go. I listed for you at the bottom a couple of my favorite security podcasts. If you're interested in learning more about cybersecurity, are CyberWire Daily and the Microsoft Threat Intelligence podcast. One of the key reasons I wanted to do this webinar was what you're seeing here. How many people have seen, show of hands, or you can say yes in the chat, how many people, have seen in the last few years or heard that there are all these unfilled cybersecurity roles and you can make a lot of money. There's a lot of job security in cybersecurity. I really wanted to do the webinar because I have seen and heard of this happening as well. I do mentor people from time to time, and, I've heard from them. I've read online that in the last few years, a lot of people have been entering into programs at various types of schools, being told this kind of thing is going on and having certain expectations. This is near and dear to my heart because 20 years ago, I was hearing the same things about the IT industry as well. And I did plunk down a bunch of money to hopefully get into an IT career where I could make a lot of money. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Unfortunately, what I'm hearing, what I'm understanding about this situation, the cybersecurity job shortage, is that it's kind of more of a myth than a reality. And a couple of things. One, a lot of these jobs that are unfilled are jobs that require maybe 3 to 5 years or more of experience. And we don't really know what those jobs are usually. We don't know, are some of those jobs in niche areas of cybersecurity where it's difficult to get the experience. We don't know where they're located. How many people are willing to relocate themselves and their families to go get one of these cybersecurity jobs. We don't know if some of these cybersecurity jobs that are available require a security clearance that is difficult to obtain. We don't know a lot of these things. What we do know with more certainty is that entry-level people right now are finding it very difficult to get into a place where they can get these jobs. We also know that over the last few years, we have been we've been having a lot of schools, and it doesn't matter if they are private schools that are going to charge you thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Doesn't matter if they're 4-year colleges or even just 2-year colleges, which are relatively inexpensive. A lot of these schools have been using these types of articles as marketing to get people to enroll. So, it's really important to understand before you sign up and give your money, how likely am I to come out and find a job making the kind of money I'm expecting. My 2 career changes, I'll try to be brief. People love to talk about themselves, and this is something that we'll come back to later, so keep that in mind. My first career change, I did plunk down the money. I was working many years ago as a legal assistant, and I was planning to go to law school. I didn't really want to go to law school. I was somewhat naive. I thought that maybe law was kind of like it is on TV. I thought I might be good at it because I was good at reading and writing and speaking. But I had no real passion for law. Once I started working in an office with computers, I realized, man, my favorite part about this job is the computers. Law is actually slow and boring. I want something fast-paced and interesting. And so I went ahead and plunked down the money, and I did a program. They told me if I did this program of 4 or 5 computer certifications, I would be able to come out and make a certain amount of money in about a year. I did that. I came out. I made literally half the amount of money, the best job I could find, making half the amount of money that they told me I would make. When I look back, I think it took me 7 years to make the money that they told me I would make in the school. Eventually, I worked my way up to kind of bury the lead here. Whoops. Eventually, I did work my way up to IT manager at a small company. And at that small company is where I really got interested in cybersecurity, because we were so small that we didn't have a separate cybersecurity manager. So I was really the one responsible for a company's security. I was choosing the security products. I was trying to make sure we didn't get ransomware. And I decided I wanted to go full-time into security. This was 2016. By the way, back in 2016, I was already hearing the siren song in our industry. So many unfilled cybersecurity jobs. So, this is not a new thing. And maybe in 2016, it was more real, that there were more cybersecurity jobs, particularly on the entry-level side, that were available. I took not a straight path, though, into cybersecurity, even from here. A colleague of mine was going to work in 2016 for a company that was just going to do Azure cloud migrations. The Azure cloud in general in 2016 was still pretty new. So I asked him, can you help me get a job there? Because that sounded like such a great opportunity. And it was. Because I had the security background, by this time I also had a security certification, one security certification. By that time, when I joined the cloud company, there was this new field called cloud security. And long story short, I got into that field. I was an early person in cloud security. It opened up a lot of opportunities for me, including the opportunity to come and work at Microsoft. So all in all, my 2 career changes, my second one was a lot more successful than my first. And largely that is because of these things. One, your network is so important. One of the silliest things I did was on career change number 1, I'm working in an office. I want to go into cybersecurity. I want to go into IT. I'm just, trying to get in IT at that point. I'm working in an office. I want to get in IT. There were 2 guys, everybody, there were 2 guys at that office who worked in IT. Do you think I ever told them I also want to get into IT? I did not. I was so shy back in those days. I thought they would laugh at me. So I never said anything. Second time, I'm using my network and I'm leveraging it. Always be curious. I've always been curious about, sort of what's new and coming in technology. Right now, AI is coming. AI is already here. AI is kind of in the same position that cloud was 10 years ago. So it's something definitely to think about, by learning AI skills. And I'm not saying this because I work at Microsoft, but by learning AI and security together, this may bring you opportunities. When I got into cybersecurity, a key question I had is, is it too late for me? Is it too late as someone with 16 years of IT experience to change and get into cybersecurity? And somebody gave me a very valuable piece of advice. They said, it's never too late to get into cybersecurity because it's changing all the time. So keep that in mind as well. Finally, career change is hard. It's always hard. What you don't see on this slide, what you don't hear in my story is what it was actually like, the sacrifices that had to be made for me to make these changes. Even on career change number 2, where I know a guy and he helps me get a job. But when we learned that they were going to hire me at that cloud company, he called me up one night and he said, I'm really glad you're coming to work with us, but I have to tell you something. He was new too, right? So he said, I'm seeing things in this office that I think are going to be a problem for you and others. And he was right. So even though I have this sort of almost Cinderella story of going from a small company, getting this great break, getting into this niche area, getting to Microsoft, even though it's almost a Cinderella story, it was a difficult time for me when I was doing the second career change. So there's always a price. In fact, I want to stop here and I want to just emphasize that. I guess I have to hit the slide. Sorry, one more time. This is a really key question to ask yourselves, is why do you want to get into cybersecurity? If it's because you have the illusion from all these news stories from your school or whatever, that there are all these unfulfilled jobs in cybersecurity, that there's some kind of job security in cybersecurity, I don't think that's true, unfortunately. There are also, on the flip side, on the positive side, there are a lot of jobs in IT where you can do some security without changing your career, without being an official full-time cybersecurity person. What am I talking about? I was kind of interested. The other day, we did the Future Career Seminar, and a number of people reached out to me, and I asked them, do you have any questions for me or what have you? And I'll be talking about some of these questions as we go. One of the things I noticed, and I was a bit surprised by, was a lot of these people seem to already be having very good security, very good IT careers, and I kind of thought, wow, I'm surprised this person wants to go from the career they're already doing in IT to cybersecurity. One of the things I've learned from being in cybersecurity over the last few years is that people who are in database do security. People who are on the app team, they do security. Certainly people who are doing computer networking or networking, they are doing network security. So, there are a lot of people who are doing security and getting the benefit of how interesting and varied and how much there is to learn about security. A lot of people are already in areas where they can learn about security. They don't have to completely change their career to get into security full time. If you do want to get into security full time or just learn more, here are some things you can do. Here are some real life paths that people have taken to cybersecurity. And I know they're real life paths because I either know people who have taken these paths, or I know someone who has hired someone, who came from these paths. IT is far and away the most popular path to cybersecurity. So I would almost say if you are already in IT, if you have job experience in IT, you are halfway or more than halfway to a career in cybersecurity. There's nothing that beats understanding technology. There's nothing that beats having to actually, work on an email system, for example, when it comes to then understanding how do we protect against phishing? Why is it, that one person got the phishing email and somebody else didn't? For example, developer. There are oftentimes, a big gap between the security people and the app teams. If you are a person that has developer app team experience that you can bring to security, you can help bridge that gap. Financial auditor, and I won't go through all of these, but financial auditor, there is a whole area of security which is concerned with compliance. And I've known more than one person who had an accounting degree, started as a financial auditor, and moved from there into compliance auditor, and maybe on to, other security careers from there. Some of the ones that might surprise you on there are bank employee and medical billing analyst. So I have a colleague, and for years he was a manager of a SOC operations center at a healthcare company. And he put it really well. He was telling me about how he did hire somebody who had no security experience, no IT experience for his security operations center, his SOC. She was the exception. He hired her because she was so passionate about security. And she was working at the same place as a billing analyst. And the way he put it, he said, I look for that passion because I can train people. But then in the same conversation, he kind of qualified that with another statement. He said, I can train people, but I can't train everyone. And that's sort of what we often see when we're talking to people in a security operations center. Security operations center, maybe it's 15 people. We're going to see a mix of backgrounds there. The bank employee, I actually was talking to a SOC where they had about 15 people, and two of those, and it was a bank, and two of those people were longtime employees of the bank who had gone back to school at night and gone into cybersecurity. The fact that they were good employees at the bank helped them get into a cybersecurity job. On the same team were a couple people that had military backgrounds. A lot of people get into cybersecurity from having done it in the military. And then there were also people on that team that were experienced SOC analysts. So this is to say that you can get your way into a cybersecurity job with no IT background, but it's a rarity. It's a rarity. I hope you also take from the slide that, if you're trying to get into a cybersecurity background from non-IT background, one of the best things you can do is get yourself into an office. Get yourself into an office of a certain size. Become the billing analyst. Become a receptionist. But it's really important to get in an office environment if you're trying to get into IT and or security without experience. Because in an office environment, you're going to start working with the technologies that business people work with. Business people around the world use products like Outlook. There are also products, that are non-Microsoft, like Citrix, like Salesforce. Different products. Your exposure to these products and what they do will help you eventually when you are supporting people working in these products. How do you help someone log on to an application that you've never seen before? How do you help decipher the error messages they're getting when you don't understand what the application is even for? So these are things that I would recommend. People asked a lot in LinkedIn about transferable skills. 100%, you're going to have transferable skills. I'm just watching my time here. Project management skills. A lot of consulting firms doing security, and they need people not just on the technical side, but also on the business side to run those products or those projects. But it really helps if the people running a security project also understand the technology to an extent. IT support, we've covered. Coding knowledge. There are a lot of jobs, and we'll touch on some in a minute, where having coding experience and knowledge is really helpful. Sales experience, lots of jobs selling cybersecurity. And you don't necessarily have to be the main account executive focused only on selling. They always need people who can demo the products. Typical scenario when a salesperson is talking to a client about a product is there's an account executive, a seller who's primarily focused on the selling and the account management, and there's somebody else who is highly technical, showing the features and benefits of the product to the client. And then, of course, leadership roles. If you have leadership experience, there are many roles that you can aspire to on the security side. How to network. Lessons learned. And excuse me, I have to take a drink. I kind of knew I would be talking a lot, so. We talked about this on the career webinar. Volunteering. One thing I've learned recently is that for most of my career, when I networked, I was doing it wrong. This was me networking 10 or 15 years ago. I would go to a conference or I would go to a local event. Sometimes I would be driving across the city an hour to an hour and a half, rush hour traffic. I would get to the event and I would go to all the presentations. And between presentations, I would sit quietly by myself. I'm just nodding. I would sit quietly by myself. I would, maybe chit chat a little bit with the person next to me. And then I would go home at the end, having talked to almost nobody. A couple of weeks ago, I was listening to a podcast where a guy was talking about one of the most expensive security conferences, but one of the best well attended, which is called DEF CON. I think it's actually happening this week in Las Vegas. And this organizer of this security conference, when they asked him, what are the tips that you would give for people going to the conference for the first time? And what he said surprised me so much. He said, don't go to all the sessions. And I was like, what? I mean, isn't that why you go to a security conference, for the sessions? He said, no, the sessions are available later on YouTube. You can watch them by yourself. He said, go to the sessions if there's something that is particularly interesting to you. But he said, spend most of your time at the conference going to all these little setups we have. We have capture the flag contests. We have a lockpick village. We have, different people are out there volunteering at the conference talking about the area of security that they're passionate about. And they would love to talk to you about that. I understand that for a lot of us, we are introverted people. It's hard to go somewhere and talk. one of the nicest things, one of the best things I think you can do when you're at one of these events is just to ask people, how did you get into cybersecurity? Please don't start with, hi, I'm Liz and I'm trying to get into cybersecurity. Don't do that. Make it about them. And I got another tip the other day. I had never thought about this, but people said, try not to lead with, hi, what do you do? Because right now there are a lot of people who are unemployed or underemployed, and it could be maybe a sensitive thing, So use instead, how did you get into cybersecurity? By the way, I didn't address this on a previous slide, and I meant to. 4-year college degree. I was at a conference, and at the time I was mentoring a young woman who was having trouble. She was in a 2-year program, and it didn't seem to be a very good program. She wasn't really finding any luck getting a job. I was really a bit skeptical about schools in general, preparing people for cybersecurity roles. And I happened to be at this conference, and I was sitting at a table with 3 young women, and I asked them, are you working in cybersecurity right now? How did you get into cybersecurity? And what was amazing was these 3 women all looked at me like, or they looked at me later like they were kind of surprised that I would even ask this question, because they were all taking cybersecurity at the University of Houston. Go Cougs. And they have had no trouble getting into cybersecurity. They had all gone through the program, got internships, and been able to leverage those internships to a full-time role. So some schools apparently are working. That's not to say you have to do a 4-year degree, but I learned that by asking these women at this conference. So there's a lot to be learned by asking that question. Volunteer regularly also. One of the best things I ever did when I came to Microsoft was I told myself, I want to meet other like-minded people here. Huge company. We work a lot remote. We work a lot by ourselves or with a client, but not with other Microsoft people. So I said, I want to meet other people at Microsoft who are interested in what I'm interested in. And I joined a volunteer group through which I met Ahmed. Well, that's not exactly true, Ahmed. We worked together, but we got to know each other a lot better through the volunteer group. And interestingly, the volunteer group that I joined, I didn't like it much at first. It didn't seem to be going anywhere. I wasn't doing much, but I stuck with it. And I got another opportunity to volunteer. And eventually I actually went ahead and I led that entire volunteer organization. And I made so many contacts through that organization. It has helped me get some of the roles I wanted to get at Microsoft, my involvement in that organization. So I sincerely can't recommend volunteering enough, but you have to do it consistently. You have to stick with it even when you're not sure it's paying dividends yet. Bottom line is, networking is about, and I just learned this recently. I saw it somewhere. Networking is about making meaningful connections. So many times we think networking is about, reaching out to someone on LinkedIn. I remember being at an event where a guy found out I was an IT manager back in the day, and he was like, "Are you hiring anybody?" And that is not networking either. Networking is truly building a network of relationships, and once you have them, nurture them, because you don't know when you're going to need that. And finally, ask for help, even if you don't want to. My very happy story about how I got this cloud security job from a friend of mine. I almost didn't reach out to that friend because we had worked together, and from time to time, I would invite him to lunch after we stopped working together. And at a certain point, it occurred to me, he always comes and we always have a nice time, but it's always me inviting him. He never invites me. Maybe he doesn't really want to have lunch with me. Get out of your own head. If there's someone that you think, if there's someone that you think can help you in your job search, in your career change, but you're not sure if they want to hear from you, give them a chance to help you. I can actually think of 4 times in my life where I was reluctant to reach out to somebody. And Ahmed knows what I'm talking about. Because I thought they didn't want to hear from me. They wouldn't want to work with me. And those 4 times, each one of them changed my career and opened up so many possibilities for me. All right, getting to know the cybersecurity industry. What do I recommend? SANS.org is a great site for their many free resources. SANS also has some very high-priced courses that you can take. For most people, those courses are not for you. Those courses are they are great courses, but they're more for people who are already in cybersecurity and trying to up their knowledge and get some kind of certification to prove what they know. They're also very expensive, so save the expensive courses for when you are working for an employer who will pay for them for you. Anti-siphon training is a more affordable alternative. It was actually started by a guy who used to work for SANS, doing the expensive courses. He runs his own security firm, and he wanted to give people trying to get into the industry an alternative to trying to either, just use free resources or pay for the most expensive training. So his trainings are much less expensive, and he even offers a bunch of free training and pay what you can. Action items for you. Remember, this is not just about training, but it's also, these are 2 good sites where you can learn about different security careers and career paths. So action items for you are, and I'm going to repeat them at the end. First of all, learn about different cybersecurity roles. Cybersecurity is huge. You can't do everything. However, you do need sort of general cybersecurity knowledge, whatever it is you eventually specialize in. And don't be like some people, including myself, where we're almost overwhelmed by all the choices. Pick one, and you don't have to stick with it forever, but let it be your entry point to the industry. And as I said, buy the best training you can afford right now. Don't fall into the trap where you're telling yourself, okay, $5,000 or $10,000 is a lot of money for me, but it's just a drop in the bucket compared to what I will be making when I get into cybersecurity. Don't do that. Pay what you can now. There's so many choices out there. Good lists of conferences. I think, Ahmed, we can give people this PowerPoint afterwards, right, in PDF, so they can have the links. Or I'll post some links on my own LinkedIn. Yeah. Great list of cybersecurity conferences. There are a lot. Don't go to the big ones. Similar to training, there are a couple of big ones, RSA and Black Hat, that cost probably $3,500 minimum to go to. You don't need to go to those. Those, again, are for corporations, government agencies, that if they don't see a high price tag, they wonder, is it even worth it to send people? B-Sides, you may have heard of. How many people heard of B-Sides? It's a great network of local conferences that don't cost a lot of money. Also, when you're looking at conferences, you kind of want to look at, when you look at, here's the conference, it's coming up, they'll show you the sessions that are happening. Strive for conferences where most of the people there are not vendors talking about their product. You want to find conferences where it's people like us talking about, how did I get into cybersecurity? What kinds of things can you do in cybersecurity? That kind of thing. And one thing I didn't, you might have seen on my slide, is when you're talking to people at cybersecurity conferences, stay away from the salespeople at the tables. One of my mentees was kind of miffed because she went to a conference and I had told her, make sure you're talking to people, and she was trying to talk to salespeople at the tables, and they were kind of not interested in her when they found out she was a student. So the people at the tables, their companies have bought tables at that conference. They are there to sell, to generate leads. They're not really able to devote time to talking to you about their career usually. Lots of different organizations, some of them more specialized, some of them more general. And usually they have a national branch and a local branch as well. Trends and future outlook. This is me with my crystal ball trying to tell you, what is going to be big. I have no idea. But I can tell you what's sort of big right now. A lot of companies have been in cloud for a while. Some companies still going to cloud. Most of them now in more than one cloud. And that is tough. It is hard to find people with cloud security skills for AWS. What if I also need people who are in AWS and who are in AWS and Azure, or AWS and GCP? GCP was the latest big cloud provider to come on the scene, and as such, they seem to be the one where it's hardest to find skills. Governance, risk, and compliance. Certain industries, financial services, for example, healthcare, they're required to be compliant. They have to hire compliance people. So there will always be jobs there. SOC operations and tools and automation engineers. This is where you can use your coding skills. Also, I would add to this reverse engineering of malware. That's a very niche area, and one that you really need to have coding skills for. So if you have coding skills, automation, reverse engineering malware, those are some areas that are closed to a lot of people, but not you. SOC analyst, a question I had on LinkedIn, is SOC analyst still a good entry point? Probably not, unfortunately. That area, and don't, if you want to be a SOC analyst, if that is your dream, do not let me talk you out of that. However, I will say that from reliable sources in the industry, it's harder now to get entry points, especially if you're not coming in with experience. As a new cybersecurity person, it's hard to go right into SOC analyst, red teamer, pen tester, or incident response. Those are sort of the glamorous areas, if you will, of cybersecurity, and so some of the toughest to get into. AI integration, AI security. Right now, a lot of people talking about how do we use AI in security, not to replace people, but to make us more efficient. So that's an area to look at. On the same side, sort of a different aspect of AI and security is a lot of business people concerned about how do we make sure that the AI applications we're standing up are secure. So two sides of the same coin. And data protection and vulnerability management. Next to phishing, vulnerability management or vulnerabilities are the main things that are being attacked. The main ways attackers are getting into organizations is by exploiting vulnerabilities. So data protection and vulnerability management, not generally thought of as super glamorous areas, but very interesting areas in their own right, and possibly easier to get into than the SOC operations roles. All right, and that brings us to LinkedIn questions. And I see a lot of questions in the chat. So people coming from, and I'm going to kind of hit these real fast because some of them I have covered. Someone coming from an unrelated field trying to get into cybersecurity. Try to start with IT help desk, desktop support. You're going to learn general information technology skills that are going to make you a better and stronger cybersecurity person. If you can't get in, if you're having trouble getting into IT, just even a help desk or desktop role, try to go to work in an office where they have those things, and try to work your way in through there. My friend, the SOC manager, he used to do lunch and learns on cybersecurity, and they were most often attended by people already in those support roles. And he would hire people from those support roles into cybersecurity, who are already at the company. People always want to hire from within the company. I will say almost always. People almost always want to hire good employees with a proven track record at their company. My husband actually changed roles from about 7 years ago. He changed roles from being an elementary school teacher to being an IT technician. And after he had been an IT technician for about a year, his boss offered him a chance to go into cybersecurity. Just because they needed somebody, they didn't have a full-time cybersecurity person, and my husband had done a great job as a desktop tech. What kind of certifications or courses need to be completed? I would recommend only one, that you only really need probably one certification. People go crazy with certifications. I think the practical experience is always going to be more important. When I was an IT manager, I was hiring entry-level people for IT. I was looking for a package. I always knew, being at a small company without a lot of money to spend, I was never going to get everything I wanted. But I was looking for, did the person have IT experience? That was the most important thing to me. And certification down on the list, it was a nice to have certification. If you're trying to get into IT and you're not already in IT, A+. If you're trying to get into security and you don't have any security certification, pick one, and just one. How to incorporate existing experience into IT. I did talk a little bit about this. If you have IT experience, and leverage that. And somebody else kind of talked about, how do I show that on my resume? What will happen to you as you transition from IT to cybersecurity is your resume will change. For example, 4 years I was an IT manager, and when I was in that phase of my career, my resume showed, for those 4 years as an IT manager, all kinds of things that I did as an IT manager. I managed a staff of people. I had a budget. I did projects, and then also the security stuff that I did. I started a security awareness program. I was in charge of all the security products that we bought, that kind of thing. As I transitioned to cybersecurity, I start taking off. In fact, I completely take off all the non-security things that I did as an IT manager, because they're no longer important. I'm just focusing on the security things that I did. I hope that helps. Some questions then came from sort of a student, about, how do you distinguish yourself once you're in the cybersecurity role? What free certificates, what projects? If I'm a student and I have no work experience, what kind of projects should I be focused on? We like at Microsoft, from what I know, we like internships. We like if you have a GitHub showing things you've done, or a blog. And it doesn't have to be a blog that you put something out new every month. Just look for ways to show what you're doing and what you've done. How to stand out, once you're in the role. One of the big things that I've learned over the last few years is, and keep in mind that I'm working for a vendor, so I have clients. But I think it's true even if you are working for a company and all your clients, all your customers are internal people at the same company. Above and beyond, for most of us in cybersecurity, it's a customer service role. We are, at Microsoft, it's all about our clients. Again, not an advertisement for Microsoft, but my most important job is to make sure that my clients are using our products and that they're able to use them easily, effectively, that Microsoft is making them happy. And if I can please my clients, that will reflect well on me. Same thing is true, again, going back to my husband, who is not the most technical person. He was a school teacher before he got into IT, and he's learning, but he's been consistently recognized for having great customer service. And I think that really speaks volumes. Free certificates, by the way, they're nice to have, but I'm not going to put a lot of stock in them as an employer. What are some niche jobs and opportunities? One of the things I thought of was Linux. Some things, a lot of things change in IT. Some things never change in IT. Linux is a skill that a lot of people don't have, and yet Linux runs the majority of the virtual machines in the internet. I've seen people, who are strong on Windows. We're seeing more and more people, especially who are new to career, who are strong on Mac. Very few people strong on Linux. So Linux, I think, is still a great skill to have. And then sort of some of the other questions that I've answered. So many questions and so many tips. It looks like some people are sort of talking about things they know in the chat, sharing things they know, resources they may be using. That's wonderful. Action items. We've talked about them. I'm going to hit them one more time. First of all, if you want to go into cybersecurity, it's important to understand the cybersecurity industry and what kind of jobs are available. You will need a general knowledge of cybersecurity, and how do we protect things? How do we use tools generally? At the same time, you don't have to get super deep. I had to laugh because when I was researching this webinar, I saw something. It said you have to know cryptography to get into cyber. No, you don't. That's crazy. So be careful, and use reputable sources when you're looking at what you need to know. Then you start developing your skills. Again, there are courses that will teach you general cybersecurity fundamental. They call it sort of cybersecurity fundamentals. You need that. Then pick one subject where you want to focus. And it doesn't have to be where you spend your entire career. But you can't do everything. If you're trying to do too many things at once, you're going to feel overwhelmed. So try to focus a little bit. And then finally, the experience and the connections. Build those connections. It's not always easy. It takes time. And believe me, one of the hardest things is when you're unemployed or you're trying to break into an industry and you go to volunteer and they don't get back to you. You put in your application to volunteer because they've told you, oh, we need volunteers, but then nobody calls you. Keep after them. As someone who ran a volunteer organization, I can tell you it's very hard. And we're always thrilled when people want to help. But sometimes it takes us a while to get back to you. Don't ever take it personally. Keep trying. And finally, when you make those connections, nurture those connections and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need them. Thank you very much, everyone. And I think we're almost out of time, but if I can, I'm happy to take any other questions for a few minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Liz. This was amazing. tons of wisdom, tons of insights, and lots of valuable actions for folks to take away. There's definitely some questions in the chat, but I think we'll maybe take Sakti, who has raised his hand first, to ask a question, and then we'll I'll share with you some of the questions that were in the chat. Sakti, if you wanna unmute and ask your question to Liz here. Are you able to unmute, Sakti? I gave you the unmute option. Okay, seems he's not around. So let me take some of the questions. So I think one of the question is CompTIA Plus, Network Plus, and Security Plus really needed? As a CS major, we normally cover OS, networking, security fundamentals, data algorithm, and object-oriented programming languages. What's your thought here, Liz?
Yeah, and again, it's so dependent on the hiring manager, the recruiter, and that's one thing I didn't say is ideally, especially as you grow in your career, you're not always depending on a stranger to help you get a job, right? You really want to use these connections, and as you're a student, look to your classmates and don't be afraid to leverage your classmates and the people that hopefully you're in some student organizations. Your nurturing of your network begins at school, because it is hard to know exactly what a given hiring manager or recruiter is looking for. I would say no. And as a matter of fact, sorry, I'm kind of long-winded, but I had a mentee, and she was just about to finish her 4-year college program, and she was taking great classes, database. She was taking application engineering. She was taking even some AI stuff. And then, for some reason, somebody convinced her she also needed, all these certifications. And I don't think that's true. I think that, when you're going through, certifications are by and large, I think they were originally designed and they're most useful for people already in the industry to show what we know. And as a matter of fact, I'm required to have certain certifications, which is one reason I have so many. So no, I think you're right on questioning why you'd need all those certifications if you have a degree.
Thank you, Liz. So I think there's some other folks who raised their hand, but I want to do the group selfie first, so that if anyone else want to, drop. So if you want to stop sharing your screen, Liz, and we'll take a group selfie with whoever wants to join this, and then we'll stay for more Q&A. So let me just change this view to gather mode so that we can have folks who are in camera to join this. Anyone else want to join? And I'll say 1, 2, 3 and smile. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 and smile. Hold on. Okay. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, hold on, sorry.
We're back.
Sorry about that. Okay, so
that's okay.
Some other folks are joining, so I'll just give it a few seconds. Anyone else want to join? No? Okay, so 1, 2, 3 and smile. Awesome. Thank you so much, Liz, for such an amazing workshop and support to everybody. Definitely lots of wisdom, lots of insights, lots to do afterwards. I'll just now give it to those folks who raised their hand. If you want to come off mute, by turn. So Sakti, if you're able to unmute now, you can try and go ahead with your question.
Hi, thank you. Yeah. Good afternoon. Thanks for the session. Hi, Liz. So I've been in data analytics and data warehousing related areas, reporting all those stuff as a PM. Apart from volunteering, or where do I start to get into this cybersecurity. A couple of folks who I randomly did a cold calling on LinkedIn suggested like CompTIA certification. Some suggested CASSP, all those stuff. But I looked at those stuff, but I'm not sure, like, if they're going to help me right away. Where do I start?
If I can, are you currently employed?
No, that's the problem. Yeah, I got laid off few months ago.
I'm sorry for that direct of a question. Because for those who are employed, and looking to change, then I would say, the first step should be with your manager, right? Assuming you've been in role for a while, and you have a relationship with your manager. Some places are lucky. We're lucky because we have formal career counseling, and our managers are actively helping us. But a lot of times, if you're working, you may feel shy about expressing interest in going to another group, but your manager should be there to help you. In your case, I would say stay with what you know for now and try to get another job in data warehousing and leverage that. But you can start learning about security right now. So, take what you've already learned about data security, and start building on that. Look for opportunities. One certification, and I'm not an expert at certifications, but one certification that might be interesting and valuable for you might be that CCSP, not the CISSP, but the ISC squared certification for cloud professionals, or any other cloud certification that is inherently focused on data. Leverage what you know because you know a lot, and try to build on it. And I think then you'll become a very attractive candidate for people.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, and good luck.
Thank you, Liz. And again, guys, I just want to reiterate what Liz mentioned. During this session, it's not wise for you to change fields. And this difficult time of disruption of AI, it's better you stick to what you really do best because the competition is so high. Like if you're trying to crack into something that you newly going through, that will be very, very difficult and an uphill battle. So I don't want you to do this to yourself. You'll be spread thin, you will be frustrated, you will be exhausted, and you will feel like this is not working. So better try to stick with something that you can do at least 70% of the requirements before you jump into a new field. And again, as Liz mentioned, when you're in that field, you can network internally and start to leverage your own company resources or employer to move internally to that newer field through either the help of your manager or through networking or through other volunteering gigs internally. That happens all the time. Thank you so much, Liz. Khalid, you're next. Go ahead if you want to unmute and ask your question.
Hey Ahmed, thanks for that. I think Liz answered my question. I was the guy that I asked about I'm pursuing a computer science major, and do I really still need CompTIA A plus, Security plus, Network plus? So I'll just let the other person move forward with. Thank you, Liz, for your answer. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
100%, and good luck with your career.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay, Heba, you're next.
Hello, Liz. Good morning. I want to ask you, I just moved to Canada recently, and I'm thinking of cybersecurity as my path for the future. What would be your advices for me, please?
Well, let me ask you, what is making you think about cybersecurity as your path?
Because it's engineering and it's like open for the future. You can do IT, you can do AI, you can protect others. It's just a good thing to do for this generation. I think it has a good bright future. And at the same time, as a woman, you can work from home, you can work from the office. So it's flexible. If you have kids I don't have kids. I'm just thinking. So it's good for a person like me because I like to feel like the freedom, and I like to think and solve things at the same time. At the same time, I love to feel like I'm helping others. So I think it's a good thing for me, and I love physics and math. It's my
Okay,
passion.
good. Uh-huh. That's
So
great.
I like if you can advise me with how can I start doing it, or like if you have any advice.
And what are you doing right now? Are you in school right now? Are you working right now? What is your situation right now?
So basically, I just moved to Canada 6 months ago, and I'm doing now ESL. I'm working part-time jobs, full-time job. It depends on my school time. Back home, I took my high school diploma, and I did a year and a half engineering. I did renewable energies, and then I couldn't finish it because I moved to Canada.
Okay. Well, I would say you're really at the beginning of your career. It sounds like, which is great. It's exciting. I heard a couple of things, and I obviously only talked to you for a minute, but I heard you say, on the one hand, and you're very practical, right? You're thinking about, cybersecurity will let me work from home, which is important, and you're interested in cybersecurity. I think that for myself, I was really passionate about cybersecurity. I would say, if anybody on this call is just really passionate about cybersecurity, for me, it was about how, I'm sorry I'm talking about myself, but I'm going to turn it back to you in just a second. For me, I have a genuine passion and curiosity. How are threat actors attacking companies? How can we protect against that? And as the IT manager, I was worried about that all the time. So I can really strongly empathize with my customers. For you, I hear there's some passion for cybersecurity, which I think is great. I also heard you say, though, that you're really passionate about, I think it was science and math. So, keep going with your school and explore both those areas. I think that for people who are very passionate about math and maybe statistics, AI may be, a better choice right now. And again, that is, I have no crystal ball as to what's going to happen, but when we look at, what's coming, it's going to get bigger. And I think, data science could also be a good thing to look into. But I wish you the best. You're at a great time in your life. It doesn't seem like that sometimes when you're at this time in your life, right? Everybody where, you have a lot of choices. But I think also I really admire you because you're doing something that's very important for all of us, which is to think about not just job title, but what is important to us overall in our lives. So, keep doing what you're doing, which is exploring cybersecurity and other things that you might also be qualified and interested in doing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your words. I will do whatever you say. Thank you. Have a beautiful morning.
Thank you so much, Liz. And Heba, just to let you know, I also do a free consultation, so you can get some clarity about your career and what really makes sense for you. So if you want, again, go to my profile on LinkedIn. You'll find the request, a free consultation under my picture. You can just book that, and then I'll help you get more clarity about what you should do and how should you take the next steps in your career. I've been an immigrant too, in Canada.
Thank you so much.
I struggled at my beginnings too, so I know how hard it is to settle down in the first days. Thanks so much, Heba.
That's so true. Yeah, it's like overwhelming in the beginning. I would 100%. Do it. Thank you so much. I will contact you soon. Thank you.
You're welcome, Heba. Okay, next we have Adi Digi. I hope I didn't butcher your
name. Yes. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Oh yeah, thank you so much, Liz, for the insightful presentation. It's eye-opening. Thank you so much. I just have a couple of questions. I have first, you mentioned that cybersecurity is huge, And I want to know, can you advise on which of the aspects of cybersecurity is in trends and that can be well assisted with AI, that can be coupled with AI that is in trend that any interested person can go into. I am from a cloud solution architect background. I started with network infrastructure actually before I transitioned into. I extended my expertise into cloud and solution architect about 3 or 4 years ago. So I'm trying to extend into cybersecurity now. So I want to know what I can do. Then secondly, also I just I came to Canada about 6 months ago, and I have not really. I'm just still scouting for job. Nothing yet though. So I want to know for any internship program, how do I make myself available for any internship program, and if there is any at all, or any volunteering program as an IT solution architect. Thank you.
One of the in the presentation, and I think we're going to share the materials later. We mentioned, I don't know if you've heard of it, the Cloud Security Alliance. Cloud Security Alliance is a volunteer program for cloud security professionals, and they do a lot. And I would highly recommend that you get involved in that. In terms of your question about AI will be used, to help security people in all areas, including the cloud. So just keep doing what you're doing. Learn more about cloud security. Learn more about how to secure those cloud environments that you're already working in, and then gradually, as more products and services come out, learn how they can be used to help secure the cloud. At the same time, a lot of people are looking at now, I don't want to wait for the products. I want to actually start playing around with cloud security myself. I saw an interesting presentation by Sands last week where a woman was showing actually a demo how she was using an open source AI product to enhance her work in computer forensics. So she wasn't waiting for any product. Pardon me for 1 second, you guys. I got to check. My husband's leaving. Okay, sorry. I have to make sure that I didn't also have to leave in a few minutes. But anyway, yeah. So people are starting to just kind of play around with, hey, how can I take my everyday security job, whether it's computer forensics on a laptop, or whether it's securing a virtual machine in the cloud, how can I start, enhancing the work that I'm doing with open source AI? And then finally, a big driver right now in cloud security is understanding how we secure those AI models that are in cloud environments. So you're in a great place with this cloud knowledge already. Just join that Cloud Security Alliance and then start really diving deep into this area that interests you.
Thanks so much, Liz. We'll have to maybe go quickly on the remaining questions. I'll just take maybe 3 or 4, but please be very concise in your question because we don't have much time and Liz needs to go in a few minutes. So Hagar, please unmute and quick question, please.
Okay, thank you, Ahmed, and thank you, Liz. I'll try to make it very quick for you. I did my undergraduate in CS, and I have 5 years of experience in software test automation. I'm also a newcomer to Canada, and I'm trying to resume my career here, in my same career, and also exploring other options. And cybersecurity got my attention because it won't be affected by AI as much as software testing. So my question is, as a hiring manager and seeing my profile, what do you see, what do you suggest that I can add to my profile so that I can get past the initial screening and of a new job?
And you're mute, Liz. You're mute. Liz, you're mute. Yeah. If you're speaking, you're mute.
Sorry, I'm just trying to write down the name of a guy
So
in
I'll
the
let you,
chat.
I'll let you try to find this, and maybe I'll
Okay.
help Hagar while you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay,
So
ready.
let me answer her question real fast. You're in software engineering and you're interested in cybersecurity. I can't speak to words on a resume, other than just to give the standard sort of advice, which is, whatever the job you're interested in, you've got to tailor your resume to use those keywords and so forth. Again, I don't want to ever depend on an automated machine or a stranger to help me get a job. If I can avoid that, I want to go through my network. I put the name Roberto Rodriguez in the chat. He was a guy, I'm not sure if he still works for Microsoft, but he did for a number of years. He is huge in the security industry. He was himself a software engineer before he came to Microsoft, or before he got into cybersecurity. And he has been really active in the last few years at integrating cybersecurity and AI. So if you don't know him and you're interested in cybersecurity and AI, or if you're interested in kind of looking at the career path of a guy who came from the software engineering side to cybersecurity, he is a great person to look into and see what kind of things he's been presenting on and writing blogs about.
I'm sorry, can you repeat his name again?
It's in the chat. His name is Roberto Rodriguez, and that's a common name. But if you search that name with Microsoft or cybersecurity, he is going to be way up there at the top of the results.
Got it. Thank you so much, Liz.
Absolutely.
And again, Hagar, if you want to get more clarity on your career, just book some time with me. I'll get you that clarity. And again, just for everybody who in cybersecurity, I'm building a cybersecurity community, and hopefully maybe I'll work with Liz if she's interested to join that community and support that community. We'll take this offline. So if you want to be part of that community, just send me a DM on LinkedIn, and I'll send you more details about that. Let's go to next person. Aliriza. I apologize if I mispronounced.
Yes, you can call me Ali. Thank you very much, Ahmed. Thank you very much, Liz, for a presentation. I'll go fast. I'm currently an MBA student in the US, and I'm choosing a concentration between cybersecurity or AI. I have more than 5 years of IT industry, especially in incident management. I would like to ask how this incident management, experience can contribute into the cybersecurity. Obviously, my knowledge around security is not that much great. I'm considering to take some certification and expand, but I would like to know how this experience can help me to pitch into cybersecurity.
Can you clarify real fast? You say you have incident management experience, but not security experience. What does that mean?
I've been on IT incident management when, for example, P1, P3, a website goes down and we engage, we try to investigate, this kind of stuff, but not specifically in security incidents, but I've been involved. Sometimes security people deploy something, bring the website down, and we engage with them. But I've not worked directly with them on any cybersecurity areas.
Okay. But it sounds like you have significant IT experience then.
Yes.
Okay. Then again, it sort of comes in, and were you working on the networking side by any chance, or, the app side? Where were you in terms of, you're called when the website goes down?
Everything could happen on the network side. Everything could be a software developer deploy something into the production. Everything goes down, and that's where we're engaged.
Okay, thank you. And that was very much sort of where I was at when I decided to go into cybersecurity is I had years of IT experience. And this is for everybody. You know, if you have been an IT generalist of any type, you have security experience. You may not realize it. You may never have had the title security specialist or whatever, but you know, understanding and supporting websites is application security. Being called when the network goes down is network security. I was, you know, when I looked at getting into cybersecurity, my experience was things like I supported Active Directory, you know, and Active Directory security. I supported the endpoint security. You know, I was in charge of making sure that we had a good email anti-phishing solution. You know, so all of these things went on my resume. You know, even though my title was not security manager, it was the IT manager. All these security things that I've been doing as part of my job went on my resume. So it sounds like you've got plenty of security experience. You just need to tailor, if you choose to go into cybersecurity, you now just have to tailor your resume so those things are front and center, and the other things you've done become less part of your resume. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to know what are my odds and chances to get into something like cybersecurity with my experience. So it's more clear.
I would say very good. You know, I would say very good because you have that experience. As we talked about earlier in the webinar, you know, I don't have a crystal ball, but I will say that most people in cybersecurity that I know, and I tried, you guys, for you guys in this webinar, I was asking all kinds of people, you know, who has an unusual, you know, background that got you into cybersecurity. And almost always it would still involve, I was in IT first. I know a woman who was a TV producer back in the day. And I said, please tell me you went from TV producer to cybersecurity. She said, no, I went TV producer, IT person, cybersecurity. Another guy told me he had an unusual background. He did not at all. He went military, IT person, cybersecurity. That's like one of the most common backgrounds. A lot of us that are in cybersecurity, we have been in the industry for a while, the IT industry / cybersecurity industry. We have been in the industry so long that when we started, there was no separate cybersecurity industry or job, right? We as early IT generalists, we just did everything. And that's good for you. If you are a person who has, you know, configured firewalls and VLANs, if you are a person who managed Active Directory with group policy, and so forth, if you are a person who has built websites and worked on an app team, guess what? You have cybersecurity experience. And those are all things that you can feature on your resume.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll try to do this in the next 5-10 minutes max, guys. So Yusuf, you're next, and then Ahmed, and that's it. You know, any other questions? We'll maybe ask Liz for another deep dive later on. I'll work with her on, you know, a good time to schedule that, but you know, just go with Yusuf. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi Liz, hi Ahmed. Thank you for letting me speak. Like, I am network engineer. I am resident in California, and recently I has been laid off. You know, like AI now is reducing the teams from 5 to 2, and the older people or the more experience in the company who's like stay, and others being laid off. I'm thinking to move to cybersecurity, but like frankly, like there is a lot of buzzes like cybersecurity cloud, and if I enter cloud, there is Amazon, AWS, and Google. If I thinking about security, there is like Palo Alto, Fortinet, CISSP. I little bit confused. I'm far away from that. I'm network engineer for a long time, multiple experience, but recently the market is convert from high demand to high supply because a lot of teams has been laid off recently.
Got you. Thank you.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And to be honest with you, I and other people over the last few years have sort of been advising people, maybe don't go into network security. This is not for you, by the way. This is for people new to career, looking for a specialty. It is one of the more challenging fields to get into because there are a lot of people like you already in the field who've been doing networking for years. And it makes it difficult for people new to career. But the good thing is you are not in that position. You have been doing networking, it sounds like, for a while. So the good thing is also, and you're kind of getting into sort of that overwhelm that I talked about. You know, how do I get into cybersecurity? There's so many different products and options and choices. I don't think you can make a bad decision. You know, choosing between AWS, Google, and Azure, start by learning one, and learn it well. A lot of companies have any one of those three, maybe a combination of two. And earlier I talked about, multi-cloud. It's great if you can learn more than one cloud. The good thing is also that at many companies, they have separate teams per cloud. As a security person, I don't love that. But for job seekers, that helps because, take it one day at a time, pick one. You'll always be right when the choice is AWS, Azure, or Google, because any company is going to use one or the other. Always be right when it comes to, Fortinet, Checkpoint, Palo Alto, because again, you'll always be right. There will always be companies that are using one of those big ones. Just pick one, stick with it, learn it, and, eventually, if you have to, you can learn other ones. But I think with your experience, even though it is a competitive field, I think you'll do really well.
Thank you, Liz. But can I ask second question? Because I just been laid off. So I also fear about entering cybersecurity, and the AI is still evolving, and maybe after 2 years it will be the same issue with cybersecurity.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I'm surprised nobody has really brought up AI yet. I will say, that 10 years ago, we were sort of in a similar place with cloud. A lot of people were saying, cloud is going to take over. Everything is going to the cloud. IT jobs are going to disappear. And a lot of companies did go to the cloud. Some of them still have not gone to the cloud. Some of them went partly to the cloud and are still on-prem. When we look at the future, and this is partly the media's fault, when we look at the future, we often look at it, or we talk about it in extremes. All the jobs are going away. Everyone's going to the cloud. Believe it or not, in 1998, I heard somebody tell me, I saw a news story. Remember, 1998, some of you maybe not even born then. 1998, someone told me, I saw a news story within 10 years, all brick and mortar stores are going away and will only be shopping online. It's 27 years later. Definitely, we're shopping a lot online. Some retail stores went away. But, again, there's this idea, try to focus on try not to worry about the future too much. It's smart to keep things in mind, trends and things. But I think a lot of times, it's clickbait when we see this all or nothing, or it's just a very unfortunate thing that we tend to look at the future in such a negative terms.
Thank you, Liz.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Liz. Thank you, Yusuf. So again, just to add to what Liz mentioned, definitely there is so many opportunities comes with the challenges that we have, but you also need to be focused. The biggest problem today that most people are distracted. They spread thin. They spray and pray. They try to catch up with everything out there, which is not a good strategy. So if you do this to yourself, you'll eventually spread thin and you will be frustrated. Definitely clarity is very, very important, and this is what I do with the people that I work with. We sit together and I define the target really well. As Liz mentioned, you just take a path and stick with it for some time so that you can get the result out of this path. Otherwise, you will be just not finishing all those passes and not ending up with a job at the end. I'll pause here. I'll go give it to the last person. I know, Liz, we took a lot from your Sunday today, but this is the last person, and then we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much. Ahmed, go ahead and unmute and ask your question, please. Quick question, please.
Thank you both. So I'll be starting a security role on a blue team as an internal transfer in September, and I was looking what sort of certification recommendation that I can get, I guess, for that team. And then my ultimate goal is to get into government or law enforcement. So any tips, advice on training or experience I should have in these early days? Thank you.
Very interesting. Think about, I'll answer the second question first. For interest in law enforcement, think about, for example, joining if you have a local InfraGard. Early in the webinar, I showed several different organizations where there are local organizations for security professionals. And one of them is called InfraGard, which is a joint group of people in the private sector and government. So, and some of those people are from the FBI. So you will meet people from there. Also at conferences, there are often people who are doing sort of the opposite to what you did presenting. You'll see them when they do their presentation that they came from law enforcement and then entered the private sector. So make an effort to, look for people like that and connect with them, and you'll find lots of them. And then in terms of, when you join this blue team, look at, for example, what kind of products they're using. Where I work at Microsoft, we have a set of SOC tools, and we have a certification that goes along with that. I tend to think that some of our competitors will also have certifications that match the product that you're using or products that you're using. And those are the ones I'd want to concentrate on because, they're going to show that you have proficiency, not just generally in a SOC, but you have proficiency on those specific tools that you're using every day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, also, congratulations on your new job. And if you don't mind, if you just for a minute, I know we're over time, but just tell us a little bit, because you are living the dream. You are an internal transfer within your company to a security operations center. So how did you do that? How long did it take? Anything you want to share with everyone else?
Yeah, I'll be pretty quick. This will be also my second career change, if you will. I started as a secondary math teacher, went into mobile development, just taught myself programming and kind of worked my way through it. I've been in the industry for about 7 years now. And then we just had openings, chatted with managers at work and just, tried to make some connections and just getting involved with, just interest. So I guess the stars aligned up at this time, and I'm just a little bit afraid of not having the knowledge, I guess. So starting from scratch. So looking for certification and courses and training and whatnot to get myself up to speed. So
look at that anti-siphon training that I mentioned earlier. I'm going to write it again. Oh, I thought I was writing in the chat and I'm not. Let me try one more time. Anti-siphon training is done by a guy who specializes in red and blue teaming. And he's got, several kind of short, I think they're about 2-day, but full day classes. And you can take them live or on demand. He's going to have blue teaming. He's going to have general blue teaming. He's going to have intro to SOC. He's going to have intro to forensics. So I think those will be very helpful to you and not too pricey also. But yeah, great story to end on. Talking about sort of tying together many of the things we talked about. You can get these jobs. It really helps to be an internal transfer. This gentleman, just the ability to teach yourself mobile development. Again, at certain points, this man decided, I'm going to focus on mobile development. There's a lot of other things I could do in IT, but I'm going to focus on the mobile development, and I'm going to teach myself how to do that. So I think that same focus that you must have brought to mobile development, you'll bring now to SOC operations, and I think you have a really great career ahead of you.
Thank you so much, Ahmed, for your question and for your insights. Thank you so much, Liz. This was an amazing insights and wisdom. Like always, you've been, a great friend, a great leader, great supporter to everybody who's around you. I love your passion to helping, uplifting others around you, and definitely we'll maybe chat offline to see like if you want to do a deep dive later on, maybe answer more questions in the future to this community, and also join my other focus group of cybersecurity community. Thank you so much, Liz. This was amazing. We've been happily 1 hour and a half passed really quick with you. We didn't really see the time clicking, but you definitely learned a lot from you today. Any final words you want to share with the group here before we wrap it up?
Just thank you all very much for being here. And as I said, career change is never easy, but it's definitely worth it. Even when I look back at my earliest days, and I flunked down a bunch of money. They told me, you will take, if you take these classes and give us a year or so, you'll get into IT. I did not make the money that they promised me, but it actually worked. I actually did get into IT doing what they said, so it's absolutely possible. It just takes a lot of hard work. If I had been better at networking back in those days, I think it would have been easier. So I'll always emphasize the importance of networking. Thanks very much, Ahmed, for the chance. Ahmed is part of my network, as a matter of fact, and that's why I got this chance to speak to you. So thanks again, everybody. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and ask additional questions, and enjoy the rest of your weekend wherever you are.
Thank you so much, Liz. Guys, stay positive, stay proud. Your job is out there. Just again, you definitely need to adjust your strategies. As Liz mentioned, networking is 100% critical for your success today. Only online applications is not going to work. Chances are like 10-20% max if you just apply online. If you're not focused in your journey, you will suffer a lot, unfortunately. So to try again, get clarity on which direction you're going, and get support from coaches and mentors who are able to guide you through your path. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the day, and see you next week. Bye.